The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, we're going to start now, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Victoria, and I'm the School Finder and Scholarships Canada team member. The topic of today's webinar is Exploring Masters of Science in Remote Sensing, program offered by School of Graduate Studies at University of Lethbridge. Joining me today is Dr. Craig Coburn. Dr. Coburn received his Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Saskatchewan in 1994 and Master of Science in Geography from the University of Alberta in 1996. After this, he received a PhD in Geography and Remote Sensing in 2002 from Simon Fraser University in BC. He also joined the University of Lethbridge in 2002 as an associate professor and was promoted to associate professor in 2009. Dr. Coburn served as the chair of Master of Science Program Committee and Doctor Program Committee, supervised many graduate students, and since July 2018, he has been appointed as the chair of Geography Department. So please keep in mind that this webinar will be about 30 minutes in length and with a Q&A period afterwards. You can submit your questions through GoToWebinar questions tool, and we'll make sure that we'll answer them in the end. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Coburn.
Thanks, Victoria. Welcome to the webinar where we're going to learn a little bit about the brand new remote sensing program at the University of Lethbridge. So just as we get started, just a little site and situation. For those who don't know, sometimes you're tuning in from wherever around the world and you're unsure of where Lethbridge might be. Lethbridge is situated in southern Alberta, so just a few minutes from the United States border. It's a comprehensive university and we've got about 8,500 students now. We have a rapidly growing graduate program with a variety of programs that we hope provide unique opportunities for graduate students. The city of Lethbridge has a population of approximately 100,000 people, so it's an interesting little place in sort of the middle of nowhere, southern Alberta. Now, the remote sensing program is a brand new program, so it's our newest addition to a growing list of graduate opportunities. That's actually me. There's a photo of me there on I'll be on the left-hand side as I look at it, and I'm out there with a student, and we're flying some drones. Anyway, so we're going to focus on the science of remote sensing with this particular program, and of course, for those who are tuning in wondering what remote sensing might be, it's the science that's related to the retrieval of information or generating information products from sensors that are remote to their target. So we're not allowed to touch things. We're just allowed to look at stuff. That's the way I usually characterize it. A lot of it involves satellite imaging. We have a large remote sensing group of faculty members here. Some of them are involved in active remote sensing. So other sorts of modalities other than just looking at things. So they send the energy out and wait for it to come back, as well as a variety of applications that relate to Earth observation areas. So there's the website link at the bottom. I think that probably would be clickable, or at least you could search it. Okay, so the faculty members that we currently have on staff, there are 4 of us. We used to actually be bigger, but we've had a few retirements. So we've always had a big-ish remote sensing program relative to other departments of geography and other related fields. In Canada, we certainly are one of the largest groups. So Dr. Derek Peddle, of course, he's been here the longest. I'm the second longest serving member. And he does fundamental remote sensing things, image modeling, forestry applications, agricultural applications, and many, many other things. So Dr. Peddle brings to us a large and a variety of computational methods. Those are the sorts of things that he tends to focus on. Dr. Chris Hopkinson is a Campus Alberta Innovates Research Chair, actually, and his main research goals are in hydrology and environmental remote sensing. And he's one of our specialists who uses active remote sensing technologies, so LiDAR and others, in order to try to derive environmental remote sensing properties. Then there's me. So I've been around for, since 2002, as Victoria indicated. I do fundamental remote sensing things too. I mostly focus these days on scene physics, sensor design, bidirectional reflectance, which is sort of how things look from all angles, as well as image texture. I'm involved in lots of sort of sensor calibration and validation research these days, so perhaps not as directly applicable, but it's universally applicable. It's sort of a slightly different area. And then our newest addition, who just started this year, is Dr. Laura Chasmer, so we're very happy to have her here. She does wetlands and hydrological applications, again using active technologies, so LiDAR and others. She also studies environmental dynamics and has a northern research focus. So there's a good diversity here in terms of faculty members, and all of us have active research programs, and we're usually actively recruiting for high quality students to join our graduate program. So this leads us to a quick look at facilities. Needless to say, with 4 faculty members here who've all been at it for a long time, we have 3 fully equipped remote sensing laboratories. We actually have 4 now that Dr. Chasmer has joined us. There'll be an addition, but she only just started in July, so we're just getting those things up and running. We're probably have, actually, I always boast that we have the biggest density of spectroradiometers on the planet. My lab is full of these things. They're toys that we use to gather information in the field. They're very expensive and quite delicate. We actually allow students to use this stuff. We have LiDAR equipment. As I've shown in the other picture, there's unmanned aerial vehicles. I have 2 of those, which we use for a variety of application development work. I have the only goniometer system. I do bidirectional reflectance, but I'm the only person in the country who actually has a fully equipped lab because I build and develop equipment. We also have a calibration lab, which is very unusual. Most geography departments would not have these kinds of facilities. We have a fully equipped calibration lab, so we can do radiometric and spectral calibration work, and as well as all kinds of other developmental things optically. So that's something that we have, as well as the normal thing, which if you're an undergrad and you're interested in coming and joining us, you would be more familiar with places that have computational infrastructure, computers, and other things. I always say, well, of course we have those. It's the other things that make our program a little different. Okay, so what are the main remote sensing program requirements? Of course, there's got to be an academic qualification. We aren't going to allow you into the program just for fun. A BSc in a related field. Now, we have other graduate program opportunities within the department, but the remote sensing program is specifically for students who are interested in areas of remote sensing that may not have undergraduate backgrounds that are geographical in nature, right? So that you might be interested in more sort of hardcore remote sensing rather than applications-based things coming out of geography. You may stumble across this in a variety of other related fields and other areas that are using the data which the geography folk used to claim as our own. So you have to have a GPA of 3.0 out of 4. That, of course, is measured on your last 20 courses. That's good. There is an English language proficiency. Again, these are all sort of standard. We can go through them individually if you like, but I think we can all read. So there is an English language proficiency requirement. So please ensure if you're going to be applying that you've met these sort of basic fundamentals. Now, there is an option for those that are coming to us from places where English is not your first language, that you can get granted a conditional offer based on making the English proficiency requirement threshold. So we have an English for Academic Purposes, the EAP program, that would allow you to essentially get your English language skills up to an acceptable level for graduate studies. So this conditional admission, again, allows you to apply for a study permit, and you can take the English for Academic Purposes program here at the U of L. Successful completion of that program, again, at the advanced level, there are 2 levels, will allow students to begin their graduate program in the following semester. So those are sort of some complexities, but we're trying to be inclusive. We're trying to encourage students to apply to the program. Okay, so what is the process? Well, there are 3 admission periods, unlike other universities. We've got 3 admission periods during the year. The next one, which is upcoming more quickly than we'd like to admit, is October 1st. There's then February 1st, so just post the new year. There's that first round in the new year. And then there's the May 1st deadline. We are eligible to take students at all points within that program or within those periods. Domestic students, think about starting your program in the semester that follows when you've applied. So if you're applying on October 1st, you should be able to begin your program January 1st. If you start in February, if you ask for a start if you wanted to start in the summer, then February 1st would be your application deadline, and then May 1st would be your application deadline if you wanted to start in September. That doesn't say that you can't apply in October. In fact, we'd encourage you to if you wanted to start the following September. So if it's the final year of your undergraduate degree, get in early, get as much funding as you can, basically. International students, you should expect at least 2 semesters worth of delay in starting your program in order to process visa applications. So we like to allow ourselves ample time in order to appropriately coordinate your entry into the program. Rushing around trying to get things done is never the right way to start a program. Okay, so again, start early. There's lots of items to coordinate and organize. Incomplete applications, by the way, are not considered, so we don't chase you to try to figure out why these things are or are not completed. And application fees are not refundable. So once you've paid your application fee, if things don't go well, you don't get the money back, I'm afraid. Most applicants apply prior to completing their BSc. This is normal, so either in the final year or the final semester of your bachelor's degree is a good time. And if accepted, you would be granted a conditional admission, and the condition would be the completion of your undergraduate degree. So that's reasonably straightforward. So don't wait until your undergraduate degree is granted if you're planning on carrying on into a graduate degree. Okay, next step, this is the tough one, finding a supervisor. Student approaches a faculty member. So this is the way it works at Lethbridge, and inquires if we're willing to serve as a supervisor. So for example, I've just taken on the role as the chair of my department. I currently have a PhD student under my supervision, and I'm no longer searching for students at this point in time. So while I'm busy spooling up, figuring out how to run the department, I don't think it's fair for me to have a master's student. So if anyone's inquiring, I'm not currently accepting. I might accept a student next year, right? So you need to have a conversation with the professor. I can tell you that we do get these sorts of inquiries often. We don't get them through the system, right? We're starting to. Blanket emails sent to professors are almost never read. It's not a good tactic. Get into our system, start rolling through the process. And if you get stuck, if the supervisor doesn't respond, that means they're not accepting students at this time. If you're going to begin that conversation, it's a good idea to provide the professor with copies of your transcripts. Unofficial is fine. So what have you done? In related fields, why are you interested in this case, remote sensing? It's a good idea to open that. So discuss mutual interests. For example, as I said, I work on scene physics. If you send me an email and you say, oh, I'm in computer science and I'm really interested in pixel level modeling, that's a Derek Peddle thing. That's not a Craig Colburn thing. So I would probably suggest that you open a conversation with another person because we wouldn't have very many mutual interests. Okay, so there's a list of graduate student supervisors available up on the following website, so please have a look there. Okay, then filling out the application. So the application's online, it's on our online system. There's the link right there. So you're going to need unofficial transcripts. You'll need official transcripts when when offers get made. Then you have to really prove it. We'll accept unofficial ones initially. Contact information for 3 references. We'd like it if those references were academic references as well. so people that can speak to your abilities as a student. That's what we would like. A CV is excellent to show what other things that you've done. So that's good. And then the last one, which is a very important piece, which is the letter of intent, to let us know like what it is that you're intending to do. What's your passion? Why would you pursue this? That kind of thing. That's what goes in there. So these unofficial transcripts, again, minimum requirement of 3.0 out of 4. If you've got a 2.8 something, look for ways to increase your GPA. If you start the application process and you're below 3.0, we're not going to look at it. That's just an academic requirement. It's a rule. It's not draconian. It's just a thing. So 3.0 out of 4. In order to get a graduate degree, a 3.0 out of 4 is a minimum. It's a difficult degree to get. So we'd like it if your academic qualifications were at a high standard. Again, it's on your last 20 credits. We all spent the first few years in the academic wilderness. It's fine. Make sure you've got the grades needed to apply. You don't want to pay the money in the application process only to discover that you've been denied because of a GPA requirement. Funding decisions are partially based on GPA threshold. So there is a pool of funding, including graduate assistantships. So you could be a teaching assistant, as well as other awards that are based on at least the start part is based on your GPA. Now your references, 2 of the 3 must be academic references, please. That means professors that hold tenure track positions at universities. Yes, we do look them up. It could be instructors. It's fine. We just don't want, you know, your brother or somebody random. That's not going to be. We're not looking for that. We're looking for guidance for admission and funding. Professors know how those conversations go. Don't worry, we write these letters all the time. We're more than happy to write letters for students. It's actually part of our job anywhere in the world. So don't be shy. Get those letters of reference. It should include a professor that's familiar with your work. It's helpful to have comments that relate to your field of study, right? Those are good things. The person should be able to comment on more than just how you performed in their class. So hopefully they've had other experiences with you. In other words, if you've volunteered to work in their lab or done something like that, that's always good. Anyways, then you're going to provide transcripts to them. I'm just giving you a piece of advice, and your CV so they can paint a reasonably complete picture of you to discuss with me. Just do that as a matter of course. Okay, don't be afraid to ask, right? We're always willing to write reference letters. It's helpful if you give us some insight as to your motivation to pursue graduate education, right? When you're contacting references. So just inform them why you want to do this, and then they'll evaluate from there. If someone says no, it's usually because they don't know you very well, so don't take that as a bad thing. Just keep asking. It's not a problem. What we see fairly frequently are people that are getting PhD students or postdoctoral fellows. They just don't hold the correct credentials to be in the 2 of 3 group. They're okay to be in the 1 of 3 group. That's fine, but we don't want them as the main people in the references. Okay, so what's in your CV? Include your academic background, work experience, awards, scholarships, volunteer work, any publications that you've been part of, and other relevant information. So just look it up online. It's reasonably straightforward. You may not have all of those items yet. You may not have been able to participate in publications. It's an undergraduate thing. It's okay. We understand that. Your letter of intent, this is the one I always read. I always think this is the most interesting piece of the package. So I consider it a really important part of the application package. It's goals and objectives for seeking graduate education. What are your goals? Why are you doing this? It's a different kind of degree program. It's not like an undergraduate degree. You're going to work in very close consultation with a supervisor. We would like to know what your motivation is. That's good. And then what, of course, do you want to achieve? So what are your goals post-degree? I mean, it's fine to go in and say, I'd love to carry on and do research, or I'd like to be a professor, or whatever. You're looking for career advancement. These are all, there's nothing in there that's bad. That's good. Okay, finally, you're going to submit. The rest is pretty much taken care of for you. You're going to check to see if everyone has their parts complete. You've asked references to write your reference letter. They said they did, or they said they will. Have they done it? Make sure you're on top of those things. Official transcripts and proof of degree, of course, will be required after you've got through this process. Once the whole package is complete, it's going to come to me in the department for evaluation, and we're evaluating what we think is available or what we think is reasonable for funding, as well as suitability for the program. Then it's on to the program committees. As Victoria has indicated, I've chaired both the MSc and the PhD committee at the university, so I'm somewhat familiar with how they operate. The program committee is going to assess those applications as well, so lots of assessment points. And we're also going to do the assignment or recommendations for funding, especially scholarships. Those are big. Okay, so careers in remote sensing. Let's get back to the most important piece, which is, what is this degree program about? Well, remote sensing basically runs the geospatial infrastructure of Earth. So you can think of it as Google Earth. I'm really happy Google Earth exists, because now I can tell people at social events that I do Google Earth. Of course I don't, but at least it's a start to a conversation. There's lots so anyways, there's big companies involved, clearly. There's also small local remote sensing image providers. It's everything from the whole globe to small little backyard types. There's lots of interest, growing interest in UAV remote sensing. Again, we do some of those things here, so it's highly applied. LiDAR is also a thing career-wise that is it's booming at the moment. So these are pieces of brand new technology that we're able to bring, as well as areas of forestry, agriculture, oil and gas. This is Alberta, so we're going to talk about those things that are relevant to our local situation. If you have a lot of interest in other areas of remote sensing, don't worry, we've probably done that between the four of us. So the north or oceans or whatever, we've been around for a while. Okay, and with that, we're pretty much cleaned up. I think we're reasonably close to being on time. I have a few minutes here for questions. I think at this point I hand it back to Victoria, and we'll go ahead and I'll try to answer any questions that you may have. Oh, and thanks for tuning in, by the way.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Carver, for a great presentation and for telling us a little bit more about the program. So that is great. And you're right. Now we're just going to give students a couple of minutes to submit their questions, if there is any. And yes, I'm just going to give everyone about 2 minutes. Once again, you can submit your questions through the questions tool that belongs to GoToWebinar platform, or you can leave any questions about how submitting questions in the chat tool as well. So just let me know.
Don't be shy.
So I see we have one question popped up here, and I guess we can start answering it one while other students might still submit it. So one of the questions was, can you please bring some examples of Bachelor of Science programs that would be considered for this program?
Well, normally programs in geography would be suitable, but also normally I look for students that have a physics background. That's usually quite helpful. So if you've got so geography, physics, computer science, mathematics, biological sciences, actually, we do get a few students. I mean, a lot of our applications concern things that are growing on the Earth's surface. So in fact, I was just talking with a biology professor as I was walking down the hill about how we can retrieve ecosystem dynamics from remotely sensed imagery. It's like, this is every day for me. So those are the sorts of programs we're looking for initially, targeting anyways. Those will be the most relevant, I guess, areas of related disciplines. People that have undergraduate degrees in environmental science, of course, those are also available. It would be good if you had some undergraduate education that involved a little bit of remote sensing. So if you took a remote sensing class or two from the geography department, that would be helpful, but it's also not a showstopper, right? That's why we have this particular degree. So again, it's a research degree. These aren't course-based master's programs. If anyone was tuning in thinking that there was going to be a list of courses, your background, of course, will be assessed by the professors that will form your committee, and we will have courses made available at the graduate level to assist you in achieving your goals. That's the objective of graduate education at this level. I mean, there are programs across the country that have course-based master's degrees, but this isn't one of those. This isn't one of those. It's a research-based degree.
Thank you so much for taking that question. Yeah, that was actually pretty extensive. Thank you so much. There was one more question actually from a student, and the question is if there is any co-op opportunities available for this program.
Yeah, all master's programs, well, actually all graduate programs, as far as I'm aware, at the University of Lethbridge are eligible for cooperative education opportunities. We actually, in remote sensing, have probably among the longest history of graduate placements. We've been doing it for a long time, so we have lots of industry and other receptors, mostly in the research world. So we might be, for example, the little bit of applied research I do is in agriculture right now. So we might be sending students to Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada to work with one of our colleagues there for, say, 6 months, something like that. So we set up a co-op opportunity there in order that the students can get direct, relevant information right from the people either in the scientific community, in that research world, or in industry. I mean, there's a growing remote sensing industry in Lethbridge, and we've got contacts there, obviously, because there are former students who are running these things. So there's always opportunities there, but we're also a reasonably well connected research group. So we've had good success positioning and placing students, again, everywhere from the federal government. So Canada Centre for Remote Sensing has been very receptive to our students, and grateful to have them over the years. So everything from government, research science to industry.
Thank you so much for taking this question. And I'm just going to give students maybe just another minute to see if they have any questions. All right, so it seems like there's no other questions in the moment from students, and we're going to wrap up our Q&A period on this note. Once again, if you have any other questions about the program, about how to apply, and anything else, feel free to email the Grad Studies Department or myself. Once again, there is an email address right on the screen over there. And thank you so much, Dr. Comburn, for a wonderful presentation, and I wish everyone a great day.
Okay, thanks.